My talk today was more about the opportunity that we have as government, in my context as the head of an infrastructure unit of government, to play a role in contributing to the key tenets of what is covered in the National Development Plan. So in essence, the summary of what I've presented today starts by dealing with the concept of planning, the concept of the NDP, which describes the vision of a community that we'd like to see in the year 2030, the understanding of where that is coming from, ranging from the current scenario that, or the scenarios that we are faced with. And I think in the main it deals with issues of high unemployment, high ratio of inequality, and issues of a need for us to respond to those matters. The problem statement also talks to issues of poor healthcare, issues of poor education, crumbling infrastructure, and so forth. And the clear targets in terms of the 2030 vision, in essence, talks about growing the gross domestic product at a rate of at least 5.4%. In the current context, we know that we are nowhere near that in terms of reaching it, and that calls for a need from us as infrastructure units to gear up our efficiencies to ensure that we are starting to create the jobs. The targeted jobs in terms of the NDP deals with a rate of about 11 million jobs that we need to be creating. Of those 11 million jobs, we are looking at the expanded public works program contributing at least 6 million of those jobs. Some of the areas that I've covered in the presentation deals with what we are doing as a trading entity to contribute to that. I've spoken about the program that we have been tasked with. For example, the inner city regeneration program, starting with the city of Tshwane being our flagship, where we are looking at a projected investment of at least 26 billion. We are talking about the development of a contribution to the small and rural towns, which will then talk directly to the NDP goal of creating at least 1 million jobs in those communities for us to be able to improve the absorption rate. Now, the absorption rate talks about the ability to start managing the challenge of having those communities having to find greener pastures always in the major urban areas. So the way to do it is to increase the absorption rates, and the NDP targets an absorption rate of at least 40%, where the communities will grow, reinvest in those communities, get employed in those communities. One of our programs that we are looking at that is specific to that is to say, nationally, in those small and rural towns, we can actually achieve that by bringing government services to the people, by developing government precincts. Well, I mean, the first one is let's talk about why we do it. Now, for us to be able to achieve growth, we need to invest, but we need to invest in capital appreciating activities. What that does for us is it enables us to create new enterprises, it enables us to create jobs, and it enables us to drive the skills plan. Okay. That's why we do it. So if one looks at where we are actually doing it, I've spoken at length about the inner city regeneration program of the city of Tshwane. We are currently looking at Polokwane, we are looking at Johannesburg, we are looking at Durban, and we'll be looking at Cape Town as well. Those are the areas where we will be looking and saying, for instance, looking at what our client departments want, whether it's the Department of Home Affairs, whether it's the Department of Justice, where in particular we have an issue of crumbling infrastructure, which is one of the problem statements in the planning documents of the NDP. We need to do an evaluation that is very clear and precise and responds to the accommodation need of that user department. Now, you cannot look at it in isolation and just look at it from a perspective of the mandate. We need to look at it from a perspective of saying what impact does it have in the community. So the first thing is to say, does it provide us an opportunity to plug the inequality gap? Are we making sure that in procuring those particular capital projects, are we ensuring that the bias is towards black and female-owned businesses? To that extent, we are using the charters, and we are committed to ensuring that we procure in terms of the charters that have been committed to on the construction side and on the property side. That's the one area. The other area is to make sure we measure the impact in terms of jobs. So it's part of the feasibility of doing an assignment such as that one. We measure the impact that it's having in terms of skills development. Now, we are often criticized to say that if you look at the expanded public works program, it doesn't talk to full-time jobs. But the whole issue of it, look at it in the context of an internship. You are giving somebody that does not even have a metric. So I've covered the statistics as well. And the fact is, we are giving opportunities to people that come with no skills, often without a metric. An opportunity for them to develop skills, particularly in the artisanry. And from there, they are able to then go and fend for themselves and compete in the open market, in the job market. That is the real opportunity. And it gives an opportunity for others to come into the program. On our side, if you look at the ecosystem, when one talks about a building, even pretty much like this building we are in, there are a lot of jobs that get created in a project such as this one that are permanent. They do not require a lot of skills. Cleaning, gardening, basic day-to-day maintenance, changing of bulbs, maintenance of the facilities and the specialized equipment that is here, and so on. So that is how we view it. From a small and rural town's perspective, we have targeted that we will look at the development of precincts in at least 2 small towns nationally in every province. So that is a big ask, but it also depends on how you view the implementation thereof. In some of the areas, for instance, in Mpumalanga, where we are looking at a precinct, the first phase of that development is currently in existence. We are using it. So in essence, we are looking at a 5-year project to grow, to accommodate our user requirements. We are looking at some of the smaller towns, but the biggest challenge for us is going to be making sure that we are coordinated with the provinces and those small municipalities. The first thing I would hope everybody understands is why we do what we do, all of us. And I think the basic principles of being able to start from a point that says, where is it that we are going? And I think for me, the National Development Plan does exactly that. If you were to see the narrative of the National Development Plan, the executive summary, the preamble deals with the fact that we're actually defining a community as if we're already there in 2030. That is free of corruption, has solid and reliable electricity supply, and so on and so on. Per capita income of 120,000 per annum, where we are currently sitting at about 50 or 55,000 per annum. So I'm hoping that we all understand why we do the things we do, because each and everyone in the room has got a role to play relative to that. And I say that deliberately because when we go out of the room and we engage ourselves in matters of corruption, we engage ourselves in matters that points to unfair labor practice, and we engage ourselves in practices that, when no one is checking, government must pay a premium for services that they ought not to be paying a premium for. And those are the things that are currently happening. And that for me is the core message that I would have wanted the recipients to have heard. From a program perspective, yes, there is a need for us, for everyone to understand that the reality of the situation is that in 2011, 2012, before the turnaround program, public works was always in the news for the wrong reasons. Fact of the matter is, a few years down the line, the department has stabilized, and we are making that statement quite firmly. We are currently engaged in an efficiency enhancement program where we are going into driving the efficiencies, strengthening governance within the institution, making sure that we have a government department that is contributing to the vision of the NDP. And that for me is what I would have wanted everybody to have understood.